And it looks like we're up. Good evening, everybody. I know the notice just went out, so we'll let a few folks get here. Looks like there's some folks in the chat already. Everybody say hi to Sam from PFF Chiefs. He runs that account, and make sure you're on Twitter with him. It's going to be an insightful offseason, so let's take advantage of that. What's up, Matt, Chris West, Steven? How are y'all? I know it's been a little bit, and I appreciate you guys hanging with me. I know it's weird for a Monday. Had the camera go out on me last night, so had to replace that today and get up to speed. See, looks like it's working just fine like normal. Looks like it's a little blown out, but we're going to make do with it. Joseph, I like that plan. Make sure to hit me with that later. We're going to get into it. Lot going on and let you guys know. Oh, yeah, Sam, we're going to talk quite a bit. Let me know when you guys get there. Exactly how it looks, if it looks about the same. It's a different camera, but it's real similar. So I appreciate you guys checking it out and letting me know how it looks. I'm a little concerned about it. It was really frustrating last night. And if this works out, you know, now that we're into the off season, this might be a better time of week. You know, Sunday nights are going to be troublesome come summer and all that. Everybody's got families and traveling. I certainly do. So I think we'll try to keep it a little bit fresher and see if we can get that done. Maybe Monday night will be the night. So you guys let me know. I'll put it in the community tab as well. So folks are starting to arrive. We'll get chatting here real quick. I'm seeing questions already. Is it wrong to want another receiver in the lineup? Yeah, that's a decent question. And we're going to talk wide receivers. Tonight, I want to start by going over what Pat Mahomes has done. That speech he gave, I thought was really indicative of how he's approaching his next step, right? MVP Pat, yeah. And I took away after watching that just how calm and humble he was. Clearly, they know ahead of time. You don't find out the last minute. It's not like the Oscars or anything like that. There's no instant reaction. Everybody knows going into the room. Travis Kelce was there. Tyreek Hill was there, certainly in support of them. And we're going to talk about what that means, because this is the key right here. You've proven that you went out and got the quarterback you needed to get and that it's going to work. He can do the job that you need him to do. The meshing with Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid is really the key. It's the thing that's taken it to the next level. And honestly, he's a full year of where I expected him to be. I expected him to throw around 26, 28 touchdowns this season. I said that in the preseason in our prediction piece. And we just finished recording Locked On Chiefs. So y'all check that out too. The Locked On Chiefs podcast. That's where we do most of the prediction stuff in the offseason and that thing. So I'll put a link in the show notes. There's usually one, but just in case, we'll keep that going too. And here's the thing. Being a year ahead lets you concentrate on things that you thought you had a little bit more time for. And that's what's going to be key to really take that next step forward, because it's bought you next season and the season after while he's still on the rookie contract. Although I think they will start talking extension with him as soon as humanly possible, which will be next season at the end. Try to get that extension so you can maintain that low rate for the quarterback. It allows you to spend money elsewhere. This is going to be an off season. And one of the things we're talking about later is free agency. And it's going to have to happen because, as you can see in the chat, well done, you guys, bringing up a lot of topics already. There's plenty of needs still. Despite making it to the AFC Championship, there are plenty of needs. Most of them are on defense. But I won't say all. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that you could say all by a long shot. So we'll talk about those here in a second. But Pat's really the key. And letting him accept that award, and I like the fact that he was still focused on the future, rather than celebrating the moment. Good for him. Head on his shoulders. It looks like his parents were there and they're keeping him honest. So that's a good thing. I agree, Matt. Tonight, shout out to Oscar Blues. Tonight's beer is Death by Coconut Porter. It's kind of like it's an Almond Joy in a can, but other than that, it's a great little beer. I don't drink it that often. It's a little sweet, but so let's start in. I see you guys talking about the wide receiver already. Here's the thing. I don't think Chris Conley comes back. I think someone will give him a contract, but I think that he's just shown he's not quite up to taking that next step in this offense. Although he had the best year of his career in producing 5 touchdowns. So hello, Aaron. How are you? I haven't seen you in a while. So here's where it comes down to. Chris knows all the positions, so you're losing something in losing Chris Conley. Maybe if he's willing to take a really cheap contract, maybe he comes on. Thanks, Kenny. I appreciate that. I hope you're talking to me. If not, hey, I like it anyway. So losing a guy who knows all the positions, that can really step into anybody's role, that's something that you're losing. And that's one of the things, like Chris is saying here, that you lose when you go to Demarcus Robinson. I thought DeMarcus missed a few opportunities this season, times where he could have made bigger plays. He did make a few, don't get me wrong. I definitely thought that he came up in a couple of really nice places. It's still a stretch in order to have everything running on key, on time for all those different positions and being able to move around, because you forget when they use Tyreek in all those positions, they have to have everybody else move too. So everybody's got to know all three positions. That's the tough part. I'm not sure Robinson's up to it, but the guy that I feel like is coming on is Dieter. I feel like they clearly have a relationship. Dieter was down at the Pro Bowl with him all week anyway, just to hang out with the guys, which I thought was kind of cool. And I think it shows you that it's getting to the point. Thank you, sir, Mr. Binder Believer. And that is a Scout emblem I think you use as your icon. I love that. I have a 76 out there that needs a whole lot of work. The thing is, when you lose that, that guy that can play all those positions, everybody else suffers a little bit. So I want to see Robinson try to get a shot. But Dieter, I think, has that relationship and has the ability. He's physical. He ran routes all offseason. He even documented it on Instagram, so you guys can go check that if you want. Ran routes with Tyreek, got that play inside that was going, especially those little dagger routes. I think he's underutilized, so I expect to see him get more reps. The other thing that I will say is that I expect a slot receiver to be on the table. And I've said this already. I'm glad that you guys are bringing some of them up. Sorry if I'm missing your questions. Binder, I just got yours. Do you have an opinion on Lonnie Johnson or the CBs from Kentucky? I will get to that. Let me finish my thoughts on the current roster. We're going to talk draft. I mean, we're going to do one of these lives every week, if not every other week, all off season. So we got plenty of time for that. Hey, Derek Johnson, thanks. You guys can find me on Untapped. I'm Ryan 146 or something like that. I can't remember. I'll show it to you later. In getting Dieter going, it gives you an option, but he's still kind of a tall guy. The one thing that I think this wide receiver core is missing, and I don't think that DeAnthony Thomas can fill it, although you've seen it in spurts, you've seen him flash sometimes, is that little underneath pivot route kind of guy, just like you saw Julian Edelman go off at last night. I think that's the next thing, because what that does is give you the underneath stuff, the little pivots, the short drags, the quick outs that I think you can run from there, and it takes pressure, another piece that pulls coverage away from Travis Kelce. And I think that's the one piece they don't have right now. Now, Andy Reid's like to go with a bigger slot receiver over the course of his career, and I see a lot of you guys talking about Byron Pringle, and I thought he flashed well last year. I just don't know what's happened in the meantime. We won't really until camp. Don't put too much into OTAs because it's just OTAs. But once they get to camp, we'll know. And I think a year removed, having that maturity level, I hope that will bring him along. Don't want to miss Binder's question, so we're going to go back to that. Guys, if you want to make sure that I see something, hit that super chat, and it'll pop up for me. It makes it a lot easier for me to track. The CBs from Kentucky, especially Lonnie Johnson, long, tall, has a little bit of trouble with those kind of pivot routes. Not a guy that you would want to put on an Edelman, right? But everybody else, you know, the Tyrell Williams of this conference, name somebody. You can body up with guys like anybody you can come up with that's an average receiver or taller, right? Like you're going to have trouble with OBJ with him. You're going to have trouble with Edelman with him. You're going to have trouble with the quicker, dartier type receivers, right? And so that's why I think there's multiple corners in this draft that they're going to have to come away with. I think they might try to look at free agency a little bit, but corner's not the spot that I would go after in free agency. I just don't know that there's the volume out there that's going to be dollar friendly. I think what you have to do, and again, just hold your questions for a little bit so I don't miss them, okay, you guys? And then hit the question mark at the beginning. Kenny, I see yours, and I'll just take that right now. I don't want anything to do with Antonio Brown. He'll eat this locker room up. But what you do have to do in terms of the CBs is you got to draft them. I think you need to get a couple of them. and Rocky Sin is one of them. I like that, Joseph. There's going to be a number, and I've only started just with the Senior Bowl type guys. We're going to have an intern for Rogue Analytics this year. He's going to start doing some research earlier than I usually do, which will help me get up to speed. But I think there's a couple of guys that maybe at corner are worth trading up for. Greedy Williams is one of them. Baker might be another. So I think that's the direction you want to go. But tonight's talk is about free agency. Free agency comes down to a couple of things. And we just talked about this on the podcast. So make sure you hit the Locked On Chiefs podcast on iTunes or Google Podcasts or whatever you want. It comes down to the market, I think, in terms of value, is going to be at safety. Safeties are playing for nickels out there. Trey Boston, Kenny Vaccaro signed one-year deals because they didn't get paid last season because they got so terrible a contract level that they didn't want to commit to it for long. So now you have Earl. Thank you, Christopher. Exactly where I was going. So Earl Thomas, yes, he's hurt. He's been hurt a couple times, same leg, right? That's a bit of a concern. But Earl gives you that free safety in the back that can be a center fielder that comes up, can set the defense, can play end to end as long as he's healthy. And obviously a physical is going to be part of that. The good thing is with a bone break like that, it's really rare to see him do that a couple of times. You can't expect that to happen again. It's a whole lot better prognosis than it is with a soft tissue injury, like a hamstring issue or some kind of hip flexor issue. You know, those are things that kill careers because they're just so hard to get rid of. So I think that's really where you want to look. And Earl's at the top of the list. But Trey Boston's available again. Kenny Vaccaro's available again. Landon Collins, I don't think he gets away from the franchise tag. I think the Giants are going to put that on him. But if he were, his best season ever, really his breakout, was with Spags. So the defensive switch kind of guides you towards him. It's pretty obvious, I have to admit. You know, I'm not breaking new ground here, but it's a matchup that is too good to pass up. And he has commented that Spags really helped him develop rather quickly. I think that would be something that you could look for him to continue that. You could look at an all-pro combination down the line. I don't think he's there yet, but there's more in there. Jared Panzer, thanks for asking that one. I do think Sherman comes back. I know they signed a guy to a futures contract, but that's not somebody that you're looking to keep, you know, as a starter. So I think Sherman comes back. They'll have to work some money, but we'll see what comes of it. Sam, I agree with you. And I haven't even looked at the PFF metrics yet. In fact, we're going to have to talk about that offline a little bit. But just by watching the film, watching the games, even the broadcast games of Byron Murphy's far and away my favorite for this defense, assuming what I know about Spags is still true, that he intends to press, that he intends to be aggressive, and that's what he's looking for out of his corners as well. I think that's great. Ryan Platt, I like your plan with Anthony Barr. Anthony can play the Sam, although I do say that analysts that I know that follow the Vikings do have some complaints about his coverage. And that's a key factor for the Sam linebacker in the 4-3, particularly the 4-3 under, because he's got to line up on the line of scrimmage. He's got to take tight ends down the field, at least into the intermediate 10 to 15-yard range, and that's where it seems to be problematic. Gurley ate him up in coverage. So there are some concerns there too. And given the kind of dollars he's going to get, I'm a little wary that the Chiefs would consider doing that. But hey, I'll take it. It's an upgrade over who I think they're going to have to put out there at Sam right now. Armani Watts will be back, Kenny. Hopefully he can stay healthy. I thought he showed signs of progress, and he clearly has the athleticism. I don't think he's that free safety, big-time interception maker, though, that Earl Thomas is, or somebody in this draft is going to be. And I got my eyes on a couple of guys, but Adderley's not really it, to tell you the truth. I don't feel like he's that good. So I'll have more on the safety situation for draft-wise coming down the line. But they have a lot of young safeties right now. They need somebody that's clearly a free that can just sit back there and let Spags attack and just play single high. That's going to be the key, I think, to making this defense work. Eli, I understand. Chris agrees with you on the podcast. He'd rather see young guys. He doesn't want to spend the money on Earl Thomas. He thinks he's injury prone and that his career is almost over. I don't agree with that, but that's me. Would Eric Berry have a better chance of staying healthy at free safety as opposed to strong safety? That's Binder Believer again. I think he does. And I think you saw him play deep quite a bit when he was on the field. The question is, it's just such a significant injury at this point, and not even just the one injury, but it's a significant injury history. I think that's the bigger problem. So we're going to have to see what they decide to do. I don't know. There's too many factors here. There's experience, there's athleticism, there's the relationship with the coaches and everything else. Lazarus, I like your comment. Sexy Rexy's going to get a job somewhere. Next question. Any defensive players from Alabama? There's a couple linebackers. There's a safety there as well. You always got to look at their DBs. They don't always hold up in the league, so I'm a little wary of that, but you always got to take a look at them. Their D-line, what's his name? Isaiah Buggs. I like what I saw from him at the Senior Bowl. He didn't pop on tape to me. I watched probably 3 or 4 of their games live this season, and he didn't pop to me at the time. So I'm going to have to go back and look. Going to have a lot of film analysts on. Reagan Cresswell, you guys have heard him. He's our Locked On Chiefs tape analyst. He'll do a lot of college guys. Seth is going to do the pro film. This podcast is going to have all kinds of angles for you, and I'll try to get anybody I can onto the videos. I'm going to work on doing split screen conversations so you guys can we'll either do it live or we'll record them and it'll become a video. But the film guys are going to be a big thing because I watch film and I'm more of a schematic guy. I can't tell you corner technique, which foot goes where, that kind of thing. I've never coached at that level. So I'll just stick to the scheme stuff and I'll bring in as many experts as I can get. Next question. Do the DCs have great coaches with them? I haven't heard of anybody departing other than linebackers coaches, and that's pretty straightforward because the linebackers' jobs completely change when you go to the 4-3. So that's really what I'm anticipating. I hope Al Harris doesn't go anywhere. I still feel like he's been saddled with Bob Sutton. I think he can make this defense better. I'll give him a year. Make those DBs angry and press guys and aggressive like Al was when he was a player, and I'm definitely a believer. Ryan Platt, I hear Anthony Barr looks all pro at times and has terrible games. Yes, you're absolutely right. Mostly in coverage. And like I said before, that's going to be the issue. Don't want to nobody's giving up on Watts. Watts' injury is just the reason that he's, not in the forefront right now. But he does have competition with Lucas, and I think they're both smaller guys. I think they're not quite as rangy as they need to be a single high that can dominate the game. So, there's room there, but I think they're going to use them. Spags likes to use his safeties. He likes to blitz. I think Watts can do that as well. I think all the young guys can. And I honestly think he's going to like Sorensen a lot. Don't even get me started on Sorensen, you guys. Should we spend money on safety, or would it be Leo or Sam or CB or higher priority? Sean, that's all of the above. How's that? There is another option. There's an older guy in KJ Wright that's going to be out there that has played some middle. He's played some Sam. I don't think he could be a Will, but you have Dorian Daniel for the Will. So I think KJ could do a couple of things for you if you need him to. And his experience in the 4-3, I think would really help. He's a free agent that I have my eye on pretty drastically. I agree with you, Aaron. Will Breland Speaks have a bigger role? Yes, Kenny, he will. I think they're going to slate him to start at the 5 tech, which is going to be the defense is going to shift one way, and it's going to basically put a 5 technique, but it's not going to be the 2-gap kind like you saw Alan Bailey play in the 3-4. It's going to be more of a penetrator. He's going to be able to attack the outside shoulder of that tackle. That's what the 5 needs to do on that side. He's also going to have, the 1 over with him too. So it's going to look sometimes with the Sam up on the line of scrimmage, it's going to look like a 3-4. So don't be surprised when that happens too. The big thing is the Leo. The Leo's got to be a speed pass rusher. They call him the rush end in the 4-3. So certainly the speed aspect D Ford has. I think D Ford's counters have come along this last season in particular. I think if he's franchised, he'll be motivated, and I like all those circumstances for D Ford. The only thing I don't like about D Ford playing the Leo in this coming defense is that he doesn't set the edge very well, and that is critical for the Leo. And what we've seen, and you guys, I'm not going to get off on a tangent. I know you all know how I feel about the run game, but that's what prevented this team from going to the Super Bowl, is allowing teams to run on them and keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. So this team has to be able to stop the run. That's got to be a priority. Not just fixing the holes at corner and everything else. You got to be able to stop the run so that Pat Mahomes can have the ball in his hand. That's the key. Get stops. And you saw when you hit the playoffs, it got harder and harder. And that's going to be the key to getting to that Super Bowl. Let's see. I think running back is a need this coming year. Do you think the Chiefs look at free agency? I think they'll look at free agency. I think they'll look at a late third day guy. I think they'll look at UDFAs. I really like both the Williams guys. I think they can be a 1-2 punch. I think Spencer Ware might be on his way out. I think they are good at identifying talent that can play in this offense. So I'm not worried about running back at all. I think there's a number of guys out there, and there's a couple that will be in my pre-draft run-up as well. I will cover every position in the Rogue Analytics metrics. If you haven't seen my work at Rogue Analytics, it's all about it's the next 3 or 4 or 5 evolutions of Spark, and it is my custom matrix. I am an exercise physiologist. I used to be a strength and conditioning coach. I've developed these things over the years, and they come out and they show you what a player can do on the field in a functional way, and for every single position. I will go over that over the season, and I'll give you guys a discount code so you can get the last year's draft guide for free and all that stuff. So you can check it out. It's good information, and it's really the focus of my off season. It's gonna be a little more difficult doing this all the time, but you know, this is a new season. I haven't even been doing YouTube here for 8 months, so still trying to pick up on that. Okay, more questions. Let's get to it. Any middle linebacker changes? I think what you do right now, they like Reggie Ragland. They brought him here to be a leader. He doesn't play in a 4-3. He's a 3-4 guy. Was in college. That's just what it comes down to. I think they'll keep him around and let him compete. If they get through OTAs and he just can't get a handle on it, you could see Reggie Ragland depart. I certainly hope not. I like the guy. I'm in his corner. Hitchens plays the middle. And he played, he could play a little bit of the Sam when you're in the base 4-3 where he's off the line of scrimmage. Hitchens played that in Dallas. So he's clearly going to be the front runner for that middle linebacker spot. That's what he was brought here to do. And I think maybe that's the key that he needs, be getting back to the player that he was in Dallas and be worth his contract. I think that he will. I'm going to have faith in the guy because he seems dedicated. Going forward, other questions. Sorensen's, Eagles, yep. Will Tano and O'Daniel have bigger roles? O'Daniel definitely will. I'm really interested to see what happens with Tano Passanio because Tano played in a 4-3 in college. He rushed as a wide 9 guy, and that's a huge part of rushing, especially when they go to nickel in the 4-man front. You're going to see them lined up real wide, and that's something Tano can do. It's natural for him. That's where he comes from. He was a defensive end that they tried to make an outside linebacker, and it didn't work that well. I don't think he can play the Sam because I don't think he can carry tight ends down the field, but that's just me. But so look for him to get a chance is what I'm saying. I think that could be a big thing. Who else? Connor Barwin have anything left? I don't know. From what I saw this season, it looked a little bit thin. I can't see spending the money you'd have to spend on him. So, Adam, see you. Why don't you get out of my chat, bud? Let's see. Who's else got here? Preach. Okay, appreciate that. Yeah, Shannon, same question. I think he will. Again, it's going to be a competition. I don't think they're going to cut ties just because there's a change. I think they're going to let these guys work to prove what they can and can't do when they'll find it out. They have to make other plans in the meantime. But I think you give guys like Ragland and Tano Passanio a good chance to see if they can make the adjustment. Argo, Chiefs have a big running back. His name's Darrell Williams. I am just, man. Oh, Sam, don't even start with the DBs. But I do agree, Damian Williams is a good primary back, especially for this particular offense. Let's see here. And Sam, way to carry the company line, PFF. And folks, if you don't know, we at the Locked On Chiefs and the Locked On Network, we have a deal. We work with PFF. We're partners. If you need a discount next year, they offer a little one through the podcast. And we go back and forth. Eric Eager will be on the show here in a couple of weeks. And we'll check in with a number of PFFers. And now I think I'm going to make Sam come on the show so he can defend his running backs don't matter, especially the fullback. 11 fullbacks. That's what I always say. Hashtag 11 fullbacks. I can make that work. Let's see here. Chris Jones speaks. Yep, for sure. A Toledo running back. Hey, they have a tendency to get in trouble, so let's hold off on the Toledo just on purpose. Yeah, Ragland can be a backup MLB. You have him under contract. There's no reason to cut him. He can be a backup. It'll work, especially goal line, because he'll take on a guard better than Hitchens will. I'll tell you that. Our biggest weakness in the new 4-3 is in my personal opinion, is the Leo and the Sam playing those different roles. That's going to be the interesting part. Getting Trey Flowers, Rev Dog. That's a decent question. I've heard his name thrown around a lot as an edge guy, but honestly, he can play all over the D line. I've heard multiple people say that they feel comfortable with him as far as inside as a 3-tech. I think he's going to be way too much money for what you're going to get out of him production wise, but that's just me. We'll see what Spags and Andy think about that. Binder, who did I study under? I didn't. I was a graduate assistant in NCAA. I never got to the league, never coached in the league, never coached a position in college even. But I was a graduate assistant strength and conditioning coach for a while. And then I ran a private training business for a long time. Any chance? Oh, that was Trey. Did Chiefs trading up on draft day? I think they could. I think there's a couple of corners in particular. Greedy Williams, one of them, that is worth trading up to go get. I don't know that I'd trade a first and a second for him, but I think you could probably get that trade done for a first and a third. I also think there are going to be a couple of corners because of the other positions that are so out there that have so many options. I think you could see some decent corners fall to 29 or 30 or wherever the Chiefs are picking. Man, I have a blockage on that one. Let's see here. Yes, Sam, I agree. Hitchens middle, Dorian at weak. He can run the wheel. Think of Levante David. I think he can do a similar job. It's a little bit undersized, but I hope the Chiefs do trade up. I think if they trade up, I think it's a good thing because somebody they feel can go make a difference. A quarterback's one thing, but if you do it for a defensive player, you believe in him. And I think that's a really good sign. And you're looking at possibly losing one of your captains, Houston, Barry. I don't know if they can sustain both of them. You need another alpha on that defense. You need 5 alphas on that defense. So if they do, I think it's a good sign. Any changes on the O-line? I think that's really interesting. I think Wiley proved himself, but I think he does go back to his backup because I think LDT's better. They like Cam Irving because of his athleticism. He's kind of a nasty dude. He does get beat from time to time. The question's going to be at center. Mitch Morse has had that injury and that history of concussions. He's a free agent. I don't know if they're going to bring him back or not. We're going to just have to wait to see. There are some centers in the draft. They have Ryder, and I think they paid him an extension in order to keep him because I think they feel like he could take over the center spot. So that would definitely be a change. I don't think your tackles are going anywhere, but they probably need to draft a swing tackle because I don't know that I like anybody else. Wiley could do it, but I don't think that would be a great combination. I like him at guard. Is wide 9 the same as Leo? Leo's the position, wide 9's the technique, and they'll vary it. Sometimes they'll condense him all the way down and have him right off the tackle's shoulder. Usually he's on the weak side. That's kind of, unless they do some crazy unbalanced formations, the Leo's going to play on the weak side off of the tackle. So it'll vary depending on what they're trying to do. With D, I think the farther you can get him into his pass rush before he's touched, I think the better. So like you don't want to put him 5 yards outside the tackle, but if you have D lined up at 3, somewhere between 2 and 3 yards outside the tackle's shoulder, I think he eats that space up before the tackle can kick step back. I think that's a good combination. I think you'll see D4 do well in that role. I just don't know if he's going to get run over when they try to run at him, and they certainly will. I like a lot of guys in free agency. Chiefs just don't have the money to spend. So any chance of getting Bosa? Negative. Robert, nice idea, but no, there's no chance they get Bosa. I cannot feel anything that they would trade up to do that. I mean, unless the guy gets arrested for murder tomorrow, you know what I mean? And that's just, no, it ain't going to happen. I don't think they re-sign Bailey. Samuel, that's a good question. I like Alan Bailey, and I think he plays well in a 3-4. I don't think he's going to do as well in the 4-3. 4-3 needs his lineman to penetrate for the most part. You can have sometimes Pete Carroll will have him play 2-gap a little bit, kind of like an anchor on one side and penetrate on the other, but I don't think Alan Bailey's really meant for Spags' version of the 4-3. Charles Amenahue, Dylan Dawson, that's a good question. He is one of the guys on my list to review. And what I saw from the Senior Bowl practices, I didn't see the game yet, but the Senior Bowl practices, I liked what I saw. So definitely on my list of inquiries to make. Keep Sammy. Sammy's not going anywhere. His contract is really not worth cutting. I think it hurts him more than it helps him. No, David Angel Molina. I appreciate all of your comments, and I know you watch everything, so thank you. But I don't think it's fair to say that Pat Mahomes is Aaron Rodgers yet. Let's win a Super Bowl or two and see what happens. That's really the missing link. Physically, his arm, I think it is 100%, if not better than Rodgers. But experience goes a long way for me. So not quite ready to say that. Keep Sammy, yes. Amenahue, yeah. Grady Jarrett, yeah, but not for the money, I don't think. It's just my opinion. Earl, yeah, I talked about that earlier. Gary, you might have missed that. Check it out on replay. We're almost done here, and it'll post here soon. Bailey answered that. Do we tag Ford or trade him to Green Bay or Cleveland? I don't think it's a tag and trade. I don't think anybody's going to trade for him because of his history, both with injuries and not really performing until his contract year. So, yeah. Mosley, Herb Mitchell. I like that idea. CJ Mosley can probably play inside. The problem is that's where Hitchin needs to play. I don't think CJ Mosley is going to be a Sam and running coverage that well. So that kind of limits it. But if you, for any reason, feel like you need the coverage more and you want to put Hitchens out at Sam, then maybe you do get a middle linebacker that could be Ragland because he's already on the roster, or could be somebody like CJ Mosley. I think Mosley's underrated, especially against the run. I like what he does there. He's a Pro Bowler again, and he's a free agent. Why not? I like that concept. At least trade him out or check him out. Derek Johnson, trade up for Byron Murray. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I wouldn't. Byron Murphy, sorry. I'm a fan of UW defensive players, not so much on the offensive side, although I like Gaskin, but I just don't know how much you'd have to give up for him, and I don't know that he's worth a first and a third either. I think Greedy Williams would be. Ed Oliver, good pick if he slides. I don't know. I've heard some interesting things about Ed and his attitude. I'm not certain he would fit in here. And quite honestly, I don't want to see anybody take reps away from Noddy. And honestly, I think you would have to put Oliver in there at the 1. So, no, I'd take a pass on him. I think you can get more done, especially because it's going to be a first-round pick. Talked about Bosa. Oops, sorry, I jumped, you guys. This thing does not scroll very well. Kirk Shea, I talked a lot about the secondary. I don't know what their plan is. When this posts here in a couple of minutes, it'll go back up. Check out the beginning. Questions. Any free agents? Yeah. Okay. So, Caden, welcome. I talked a lot about that, so we'll go back through it. It'll post here in a little bit. Do I like 11? No, that was named at me. Okay, never mind. Super Bowl or bust. Yeah, I think that is it. I mean, this is the whole focus of the franchise. Get to Super Bowl 54, get to Super Bowl 55, get to Super Bowl 56, win them. Give him enough defense that he can sustain. Give him a guy to replace Sammy Watkins when Sammy's contract is up. I'm not sure if Sammy can stay healthy. And if Sammy can't stay healthy and play 14, 15, 16 games in 2019, I think they move on. Nothing against Sammy. I like him, but it's just, you got to have them available. Binder, give me an example of a customer of Rogue Analytics. Oh, I don't sell, I sell a draft guide, and it'll have the top 12 to 15 at every position in it in terms of the athleticism matrix. I do contact teams. I'm not working with any currently, but anything beyond that, any deep dive into individual players will be for the teams. That's really the focus of it. But you can see really the guys that you want to draft. And the cool thing about it is you get athleticism. And so even if you're not picking high, when it comes down to those guys that you need for your kick coverage that make the bottom 10 slots on a roster, they're athletic guys that you need for special teams. So it comes in handy. You will see a bunch of them. And I'll bring some up and do a video on it so you can see the examples and stuff. I think you can keep Kelsey, Mahomes, and Hill. I think beyond that, it gets a little bit tough. They'll clearly be the focus. Everybody say hi to Sam, and make sure you follow the PFF_Chiefs account on Twitter. It's going to be a long offseason. You're going to need as much information as we can get. Oh, I do. Post LC, I do remember you. Thank you for coming back. It's good to see you. Let's see here. I have not. In fact, Jared, that's a very good question. Folks, I have not heard a thing about Eric Berry and his surgery. It's been a couple of weeks since the season ended for them, and I would have expected that we would have found out that he had it. You want to get that recovery underway as soon as possible. So hopefully he has, and they just haven't gotten around to announcing it. We'll find out if it does. So that's going to be key. It's a linchpin. Ford, Houston, Berry are the linchpins to this offseason. We'll know about them probably before we know about anything else. Ford has to be tagged by, I believe it's March 5th is the deadline. I expect it to be before then, especially if they have entertain any ideas of trading him, tag and trade. That was what would have to happen. So Thompson, I think, is another one too. Cool Mars, thank you for your contribution. Joe, thank you. When do we hear from Spags? Honestly, I expect it to be pretty soon. I know they were going after Antonio Pierce. I think you guys probably all saw that hit Twitter. They didn't get him. He decided to stay. Pierce, I think, played for Spags at the very end. I could be wrong. I haven't gone and checked that, so don't hold me accountable. But I think as soon as he has his staff set, when he has the linebacker coaches and whatever other changes he's going to make, I think when it's set, we'll hear from Spags, and probably not until. For some unfortunate reason, we would have to go with a backup QB. No, I think Henny's great. I think Henny can run the offense. He's a smart guy. He doesn't have the arm. It would have to change, but he understands concepts. He can work with Reed. I think you're set at backup quarterback. If Pat were to stub his toe in the shower one day. So, Caden, thank you. Appreciate that. I will try to do this, like I said, every week in the off season. We'll take a couple weeks off. You know, it's summer, it's vacation. I got a family and stuff. So, there will be times. Oh yeah, Sam works for PFF. PFF is good. We have good discussions with them. Oh, Eric's going to be fun, folks. He'll be on the Locked On Chiefs podcast. Don't miss that. We're not slowing down. We're doing the podcast year round, so I can give you a little bit of information just about every day. Let's see. Well, thanks. I appreciate the new follows. Ja'Kai Polite or Ford? Ford. Polite can play. I'm just not sure if he can play that well that early. You have a 2-year window with Pat's going to be cheap. You got to get it going right now. There's no time to wait for a developing rush end. You have to get in there and attack the other quarterback. Spags is a big-time aggressive guy, both with blitzing and safeties and rushing passers. I don't see a draft edge rusher being a starter. So maybe you draft him anyway and he plays behind Ford. I don't know. Rev Dog, thank you. Hall of Fame game for the Chiefs? I have no idea. That's a very good question. Mark, I will try to find that out. What are the odds of landing Landon Collins? If he gets out of the franchise tag, I think there's a good chance. I think he wants to play for a guy that he knows in Spags. It's just whether the Giants are willing to let it go. There were rumors of them trading him or shopping a trade for him, so maybe that will happen. I just don't know. Sam, Eric Eager is very good. It's not Tom Brady, so let's take it easy. Michael, I'm not even talking about Tony G. I don't know what to think about it. As I get older, I'm less of a fan of people as I am the team and how they build it. That's my focus in the offseason, how to build a team that can win a championship. So I'm not even going to go there. Have you heard anything else about the Bears picking up Hunt? No, I haven't. He's not coming back to Kansas City, so I don't think it matters. Do you think they go after Earl? Yeah, cool, Mars. Before you got on, I was talking about that. I do think they need to, but they got to figure out the cap dollars first. But I think Earl Thomas is what they need. Oh, good Lord. We're almost 40 minutes. I didn't mean to take up this much of your time tonight, folks. Appreciate all your time being here. Is Barry going to return? We're going to find out. That's all I can really say. I don't know. But thank you. It's great. It's off season. A couple hundred people on here tonight. So appreciate all your comments. Check out the rest of the videos, and hit the Locked On Chiefs podcast. We can do more information. I can bring you more opinion that way. So, but I am going to keep going all off season with videos and lives so that we can talk about this team. So thank you all for it. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for hanging out tonight. I will see you next week. And I should have a video up here later in the week. So have a good one, and I'll talk to you then.